Ready? Here we go.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind, drown out the noise, and see if this connected. And see if this connected.
What's up, fam? The mission of this Connected podcast is to connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way. To not necessarily agree, but be listened to. These conversations, of course, highlight the perspective of our various guests, and you are always welcome to agree or even disagree. But as always, we hope that it is done in charity. Now, here's your host, Catholic.dad.
Well, thank you, Tony, for that awesome intro, as always.
And as always, you're welcome.
Well, there we go. The podcast is done. But guess what? Where are we? Disneyland.
We are close to Disneyland. We are definitely not at the studio.
And definitely not at the Disneyland Hotel.
Definitely not at the Tiki.
We were there yesterday. We won't talk about that because...
And you know what we won't also talk about?
Bruno.
We will not talk about Bruno.
We will
Don't
not
talk about Bruno.
No. Because it's going to be his wedding day.
Yeah, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky.
We are hoping, because it's in May. You guys are invited, but you'd have to fly back because we won't pay your plane fare.
The live stream?
That's right. That is such a good idea.
I don't know.
We didn't Zoom around the world with
I don't
Mary,
know.
so...
That's always up to the bride.
Yeah, that's true.
That
When
is
I got
true.
married, I had no decisions.
I got to
We're
pick
going-
my tux color,
That's a
as
good...
long as it was gray.
You know what I was told? The exact opposite. I could pick anything as long as it's not gray.
Oh.
So anyways, we are not in our usual podcast studio. We are actually in the Ayers Hotel in the Diocese of Orange in the city of Orange, and it was named Orange because it used to be filled with
There was apples.
oranges.
Blueberries.
Exactly.
Yes.
Blueberries, oranges, and and
Vegetables.
a little bit of trivia.
Uh-huh.
All the oranges that are in California all originated from one tree, and that tree is still
tree of
in the
life.
city of Riverside. The original navel orange tree is still alive. That was brought here from Spain, or by Spain, or the Spaniards from, I don't know, Mexico, I don't know. But it's still there. It's covered in gates, fences, covered, so crazy people won't cut it down. But if you guys ever want a tour of it, I will take you. But anyways, we have guests, Tony. It's not just us today.
They are sitting next to me.
And we are at the AMM, which stands for...
There's a lot of letters. It feels like an alphabet.
It is. It's alphabet soup. We are Catholics. And
NFCYM.
yes.
AMM.
And so it's the associate member meeting for the National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministers. And we're meeting for probably the first time in the city of Orange. And there's, you know what? I gotta get this guy in too because I stalk him and he doesn't know because he has a beard and he has an awesome
He
beard.
is off camera, but
And-
he looks very confused right now.
And yeah, I do stalk him on Facebook and whenever he has those things. Sometimes I comment, but he ignores me. Bearded Catholics, always. Always. Sorry.
Oh.
Just bump him. I think that's all right there.
Yeah.
We can do that.
So we are in the city of Orange and we're doing a podcast, and because we were invited, we were coming to the AMM meeting for National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministers to just see what it's about, For Tony, this is your first time, and we have actually guests. We
Tony's walking
have
away.
guests on, and we're hoping that when the bus comes from where they're going to hold,
It's just going to get crazy.
it's going to get crazy. We're
So
hoping.
we're the guinea pigs.
We're the quick
Yes.
guests.
Well, they
We're
are.
the quick.
And so, tell
You
us
get the
who you
most
are.
time.
Tell our listeners who you are.
So I am Dan Pinn. I live in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, but I serve in the Diocese of Wilmington, Delaware. This is my first AMM. I've been in the role of Associate Director of Youth, Young Adult Ministry, Family Life, Campus Ministry, and Faith Formation. Not all at the same time, as of about 6 months ago, but I started in Wilmington about 3 years ago.
Wow. And you know what? And they actually did pay attention to how you were supposed to dress today. We were told dress business casual, and we came in t-shirts. But we're from California, excusable. And, you know, he's who he is.
That's right.
Yeah. And flip-flops.
Flippy floppies.
You gotta come on over here and squeeze in, because it's like we're talking to someone. It's like
There's always
who's he?
room
Who's
for
he
Michael.
talking about?
I'm the ghost.
There he goes. There's the ghost. Tell us who you are.
I'm Charlie Hardesty. I'm from Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm the Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministry in the Diocese of Owensboro in Western Kentucky.
Awesome. What about the nice bearded guy in the green?
Yeah, my name is Michael Marchand. I'm one of the founders of Project YM. It's an organization that trains and supports Catholic youth workers across the country and around the world.
You know, I have to confess.
Yeah.
I did feel that you were going to be like 6'10" Sasquatch.
That's really more Tony, right?
That's thank you.
Because I met Tony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was like 6'10" Sasquatch. And I was like, this man is huge. And it's like, and so I thought, hey, they're buddies. They're probably
true.
co-Sasquatches.
Yeah. I mean, Sasquatches only hang out with other Sasquatches.
Exactly.
So
Clearly.
So I love the man bun.
thank you.
Just gotta say,
Thank you.
I can't.
Neither can Charlie.
But why are you guys here? It's like, I think a lot of times we as parish ministers, you know, we work with our youth, we work with our teens, and those are the ones that we usually speak about and speak to. And we're here representing actually them and hoping to bring back something to them. And I don't know about you, Tony, but I like to network and like get people's phone numbers and freebies.
Get your digits. Yeah.
Exactly. So that when I'm stuck, I have people to contact. And it's literally one of the greatest things with the National Federation is that sometimes when we do ministry, it's like me and Tony, who's in a parish a few miles away in the next town, in the same diocese, we only see each other. And then you go to this and we're like, there are youth ministers in Delaware. It's like, and they look nothing like us.
Yeah, there's different personalities,
Different
different ways of doing things.
So what brought you all the way to windy California, miserable weather here? I know it's super windy.
So ugly.
It's like what? Today was like what, 75? I mean, it's
I
sweaty.
think it touched 80. My armpits would say it touched 80 today.
I mean, it's like all that dry heat, no humidity. I was like, it's so miserable over here. It's like, so why are you guys here with AMM?
You up,
Yeah.
Dan?
Charlie, go ahead. That's you.
Charlie, yeah.
For me, it really is similar to what you were saying. It is about the relationships. It is about seeing and networking with other people trying to do what we do, learning from each other, but also just being in this with other people who get it. And so this, I do think ministry at times can be a lonely place, and not always does everyone in the diocese understand youth ministry and what we're trying to do. And so it's just nice to be around like-minded people trying to reach similar goals in different ways and to learn from one another and to just not be doing it alone.
Like,
So-
they get me.
Yeah.
Like, they really get me.
These are my people, my
Yes.
tribe.
They smell like me. Well, sometimes. Maybe not.
When it's 80 degrees, we
Maybe
all
that
Yeah,
was-
we all smell the same right now.
But I think it's true. I think that finding places where there's community is vital. And so the ministry that we do with youth ministers is all about community. And I think that one of the things that happens is when you put parish youth ministers in a room, they all speak the same language. They all come from at least a similar experience, and they have a similar heart for young people. When you're in a room of diocesan leaders, at least the good ones, have a heart not only for young people, but have a heart for the youth ministers in their diocese. And that's why we do what we do. And so for me, it's a shared passion, right? Like, so hanging out with these guys and being able to talk about caring for the youth workers that they're responsible for is the same thing that we do. And so the ability to share stories of how that works, but also how it doesn't work. Like
Yeah.
we do a lot of awesome things, but we also do some things that really flop. And so the ability to share that with someone else and then to be like, oh, yeah, we were thinking about that too. I guess we shouldn't try that.
Maybe we shouldn't go there.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
But that is also amazing that you said that, because a lot of times doing youth ministry is very lonely. As you said,
Yes,
it's very
100%.
lonely because nobody gets you. And then you speak to someone, and it's like, wow, they're speaking my same language.
Yeah.
They get me, and they're affirming me.
Right.
Whereas, you go to dioceses and, there's meetings, it's like, the last thing on the agenda is like youth, and you're fighting for scraps. I always look at that. It's like in Scripture, Lazarus is just, well, even the dogs get the scraps off the table. It's like, and then there's the youth ministers, the Lazaruses.
Mostly dead, right?
Mostly dead.
Waiting to be raised.
Wearing smelly clothes.
Smelly, wrapped up.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys face over there in your neck of the woods? Because we want to hear, are they having the same challenges that we're having here in Southern California? Actually, we are a mission diocese of San Bernardino. Most of the people we speak to are in a mission diocese.
Sure.
In an area that has half an area is affluent, and then the 1/8 of the area is affluent, and the rest of us are in the desert.
Yeah,
Dan, go for it.
Yeah, I would say, from what I've heard talking to people this whole week, is switch microphones here. Oh, I sound different in this microphone.
Just give them
This
both.
one's better. It's good. So from what I've heard, the challenges are pretty universal. I think the way we approach them has to be different based on where we're from. But I haven't heard from anybody I've talked to, any diocesan youth leaders or diocesan officials or parish youth leaders. There's nothing that's been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going through that. It's been the same story, of our culture, of the changing church, the challenges of reaching young people, the challenges of reaching parents, the challenges of working through the levels of, what it takes. We're talking, the first day of dreaming versus being practical.
Yeah.
Putting all this together, I think it looks different based on where we are, but I don't think that the fundamental purpose is that different, which is good. It's good for me to see that because I'm in a diocese, I'm the opposite coast, and it's very different population-wise, but the challenges are the same.
Literally, the challenges that you're facing with young people is, the depression, the anxiety, the thoughts of suicide, the LGBTQ, same-sex attraction, those kind of things. But Project YM is, because sometimes when we look at that, even in our parishes, the way that he would communicate with his group of young people versus my group of young people is totally different. Now, we've all gone through resources, and it's like, one fits all kind of, we use this product, and it's...
You open the box and it
open
works
the box
with
and it
every
works.
parish and every young person.
All the time.
Yeah,
What's
that's
advice to you?
how it works.
For some new youth and young adult ministers, what's best practices that you could say to them is before you fall into this trap of,
Sure.
I just bought the best product, and it sucked.
Yeah, so one, stop buying things. And that's hard for me because my ministry exists because youth ministers buy things. But really, stop buying things. I think that we have created a consumer culture in youth ministry where we feel like, well, if I just buy this next thing, or I just get this next cool resource, or this book is going to solve all the problems, and it doesn't. At the end of the day, there's really only 3 things you need to do as a youth worker. Number one, you have to love Jesus, right? So having that love, that relationship with Jesus trumps everything. And if you don't have that, then go back to step 1. But number 2, you have to love young people. And not just like them, not just tolerate them, love them. Because truthfully, I've worked with young people that I can't stand, but I can still love them, right? I can still make them feel welcome and loved and included and connected without maybe liking some of their idiosyncrasies, right? But if you can love Jesus and you can love young people, then all you have to do, if you've checked those 2 boxes, is just be real. Like, we have a generation of young people that can sniff out fake way more quickly than any generation before. And we have a generation that is afraid to come to church because they don't feel like they have it all together. They don't feel like they understand what's going on. They feel like they're broken and that there's not a place for them. And so when you're able to show them that you love Jesus, you love them, but also you're struggling, you're broken, you're messed up, and that this is still a place for you, it gives them permission to do the same.
Yeah. Yesterday, Cecilia spoke about dreaming.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your dream?
I dream of a parish community that sees itself as all invested in the young people, and not, and honestly, the young people seeing themselves invested then in everyone as well. But like, instead of everything being so compartmentalized or siloed or whatever your phrase wants to be, like, it would be awesome to see a parish community where all the adults are truly interested in the young people, and it stop being a thing that's a specialized ministry for a specialized trained group of people. Because I do think at the end of the day, the answers are actually a lot more simple than they are strategic and complicated. I know parishes that don't run youth ministry programming, but the youth are very loved, very taken care of, and owned by the community of people. And so that would be one of my biggest dreams. And again, I think we've worked really hard in youth ministry to be engaging, to be effective. But I do think in doing so, we've made it a lot harder than it has to be sometimes. And it would be just neat to see young people really celebrated and loved and taken care of within their communities.
And where can we buy that product?
Yeah.
Right. You go to projectym.com.
Charlie Hardesty Ministries at projectym.com. No.
That's funny.
No, I just, that's the beauty of the whole thing, right? Like, it's just a choice to see beyond ourselves a little.
It's amazing. I like to joke about this because it's better than crying.
Yeah.
Because
Or drinking.
Because there's only so much coffee one can
Yeah, of
ingest.
course. Yeah.
Because
Coffee,
you
yeah,
still
that's
have to
what-
wake
yeah.
up the next
Yeah.
morning
That's what I
and
meant.
set up
Yeah.
chairs.
Yeah.
With cream.
Chai tea.
The chai tea latte, and you're lactose intolerant. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Wow. It's like, I'm sorry.
Painful.
But how about you with what he just said, and that's his dream.
Yeah.
Is it a reality? Are we close? Are we looking at 10 years from now when how do we develop that culture?
Yeah, I don't know if you could put a timeline on it specifically. I think that's the thing about dreams is you need to make them a reality. I think every motivational speaker in history would say, take your dreams and make them reality. I think even Shia LaBeouf might have said that at some point.
A great
Prophet.
philosopher.
The prophet.
Absolutely.
I'm still digging holes.
Yeah. So
Great prophet.
yeah, the idea that you want a deliverable, you want a timeline, you want an action plan for a dream. They're almost two separate concepts, but they don't have to be separate forever. But putting them together isn't like putting a puzzle together. I think it's more like you have puzzle pieces, and then you have a picture frame, and so the puzzle goes in the frame somehow, and you do have to put the pieces together. But to actually have it displayed is something that takes the extra step, the extra effort of, I want this to be known, I want this to be shown. So it's more of an awareness of sharing that dream with as many people as you can and getting them on board. Because if you don't have people behind you, and that's what one of my mentors in leadership said, you're not a leader if people aren't following you. So a leader would share his or her dream with people who can get on board with that in the way that's best for them. And I think that's something this conference does really well, is showing how that dream, which is still, my dream would be very similar to Charlie's in my own diocese, in my parishes, but the way it would come about in reality is different. And it is more of that sharing and relationship building. It could take 10 years. There could be parishes that are like, I'm ready for this right now. I just didn't know how to define it. And now I have that definition. I can put it together tomorrow. But we're the ones at a diocesan level and at an organizational level to share that dream, and then to hold that vision for the future and make sure it does somehow become a reality.
And provide support for those who are at the front line of the vineyard, your youth ministers that are right there, begging for that support.
And I think it's hard because I think there is an expediency to it. Like, I think that we're serving especially you guys who are in parish ministry, right? You're serving a generation of young people that is lonelier and more broken than any generation we have ever seen before. And so, like, it is a real problem. Like, young people are killing themselves at rates that we've never seen before. Young people are isolated and driven away from the church in rates we've never seen before. And so there is a sense of expediency. And so, just to piggyback on the analogy, right? Like, if you're looking at the puzzle pieces, I think a lot of times where we mess up is we wait until we figure out how to get all the puzzle pieces together before we put them in the frame. And that's not how we got to do it. We got to put them one at a time, because just because you can't do it for everyone doesn't mean you shouldn't do it for one.
Yeah.
And so the ability to realize that your job is vitally important because the young people that you encounter that I will never meet, right? You have the opportunity to love them and introduce them to Jesus. And it can't wait for figuring out how to fix your parish or figuring out how to fix the ministry, because that young person isn't going to wait.
Yeah, I do think, though, it starts with an awareness within youth ministry leadership in a parish that you need help.
Yes.
And so it could be as simple as a youth minister introducing a young person to another adult in the parish. And so as we're like trying to fit these pieces together, I do agree. Like, I do a puzzle by like going at it, not by looking at the whole thing and going, well, there's 100 pieces here. What's the best first step? You just start, right? And like, you hope for the outside. You try to be a little strategic. But
So
it's
Charlie doesn't look for the outside. And the
no, I
pieces.
even turn him over. I don't even look at the picture.
Start for the middle.
Start middle out. But no, I do think it's like, it really is just as simple as be an adult who loves young people. So if I'm a parishioner as well, I'm not just a diocesan person to like model it.
Yeah.
But then bringing other people who are less comfortable along, because I think, again, adults are really intimidated by what this could mean and the whole process. Sometimes they're really scared of young people. Help them not be scared by doing it with them. Accompany adults into the process of accompanying youth too. And again, I think it's a dive in. It's not waiting for a great strategy. It's awkward and clumsy, but it's intentional and it's loving. So it's.
And that's one of the values of community is like, because when it's awkward and clumsy, you face rejection, right? And so, like, it's not always sunshine and roses. And so the ability to have a community, whether you're a community of diocesan directors or a community of parish youth ministers, like the ability to be able to share in those heartbreaks and those misses, those pains, those rejections, but also the wins, is vitally important. That's how you stay in ministry.
Yeah.
Because if all you do is you hit those walls and those breaks, you go home and you don't have anybody to share it with, then you don't last in ministry. And so that community is vitally important. And so
might I suggest that community is the puzzle glue? Because if you try to pick the puzzle up,
he's a man of analogies.
Without pedals, more for Jesus. I think I'll give it a shot.
Can tell a story, a parable, if you will.
Yeah, parable of puzzles and glue. But if you try to pick a puzzle up without the glue, then it just falls apart. My kids do that all the time. It bugs me. But you also can't put the glue on when the puzzle's getting put together. So maybe it's not the perfect analogy, but it's a good starting point where it's like you need something to get it, to hold it together, because most puzzles don't really hold themselves together. If there's any stress, here's a good analogy.
No, let's hear
it. If there's stress on the puzzle, it falls apart. But community holds it together. So when there's stress on community glue, look, there's puzzle pieces on his shirt. That's amazing.
It's our podcast shirt.
So
it's like it was meant to be.
So it creates a flexibility and a structure that holds it together. So that was a lot. I mean, that was a lot more than I was just walking by here.
Hold us together.
Now we're singing.
Careful, they're gonna have to pay royalties.
Oh yeah, there's some serious money that just went into that moment.
I know.
Copyright strike. No.
Yes,
But yeah,
stickers.
That's good.
The one thing that I really like what you guys said is, and I think what resonated, every single one of you guys said is community.
Yeah.
And from when I started in ministry, you feel like you're alone. You're doing this by yourself.
Right.
And then I discovered your Facebook.
Yeah.
And then there's that Facebook community.
Yep.
Although you couldn't put anything in there because, it's like the administrators.
I mean, however,
come on.
if you go to thrive.rs and join the Thrive community for free, it's unfiltered, uncensored.
Unfiltered, and I love that.
Just like this podcast.
That's where
Just
stuff gets
Literally,
real.
just like this podcast. Literally, I just have to tell you guys that when we edit this, we cut the front and the end, and then we just put it in there.
Oh boy. You guys are
Not
getting,
completely unedited.
getting some quality material.
This is,
But
this
yes,
is what they
again-
call B-roll.
But just again, in community, what you just said is that there are communities available out there, and this is not a plug for National Federation, but in joining
It can
and
be.
becoming a member
Yeah.
of the National Federation, you open yourself up to a lot more to understand that there is a community of people who get you, who understand you, who've been there, done that. And you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to keep making that mistake
Right.
that we already did. That
Right.
I already made that mistake. Don't do that. I was like, but I really want to. It's like, all right, but I'm just saying, he made that mistake. He made that mistake. She made that mistake. And it's like, don't do it. Don't buy that product.
It
And
definitely
so-
takes the excuses away from people
So I
who are
think-
saying there's nothing
yeah.
else out there.
So I think from our discussion here, from our little discussion here, what I took out of that is come to community.
Yeah.
Join, be a member. Think about it. The National Federation. It's a bunch of youth ministers, a bunch of diocesan directors, more than yours. Not saying that Edgardo, we're looking for someone else. We love you. Edgardo, we love you. You brought us here.
We just got called out.
But you know what? To have access to everyone this week, I just gotta say, every time that we have these meetings and you have access to everyone, it's a lot different from seeing people physically. Just like you're struggling. We're struggling with Zoom youth ministry. I'm like, oh, God. So we have another Zoom night. I'm just saying I'm done. But seeing even youth ministers live in person and saying, it's like, wow, he's not as tall as I thought. Was like, wow, but he's real.
But far more handsome.
like-
Just as hairy.
Literally. And the mask, we got to find his mask. And it's like, that is classic. It's like, by the way, do you sell that?
I don't.
Lost out?
Yet.
Yeah. Could have had the socks.
Call it a Jesus.
There
Yeah.
you go.
But thank you guys for coming and joining us and sharing.
Thanks for
because,
having us.
Thanks for being in such an accessible area that I could walk into.
It's like youth ministers when you say, it's like, did you get permission to do that? It's like, we were supposed to have permission.
Yeah.
Set up.
God made confession.
Yep. That's why there's reconciliation. Maybe we'll cut that part.
Nah.
Leave it in.
But thank
Sacramental
you guys.
lessons.
We'll see you
Our
tomorrow.
pleasure.
We'll see you
Indeed.
for breakfast.
Thank
see
you.
for
Yeah.
prayer, mass. It's amazing.
When does
Where's-
this
oh.
air? I'm just kidding.
Tell us one more time where people can find you.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Michael from Project Wham. You can go to projectwham.com, but really, truthfully, head to thrive.rs. It really is a community of youth workers connecting with one another, sharing with one another. And hey, why not? Because I can plug it. thriveanuga.com. 48 youth ministers, your new best friends, hanging out in beautiful downtown Chattanooga for a week.
For some of us, where the heck is Chattanooga?
Tennessee.
There you go.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Come on down.
It's nothing like California.
It's a different kind of gorgeous.
That's right.
We got rivers instead of beaches.
That's true. We have rivers. We have the Santa Ana River. It
Eh.
has water like 3 weeks out of the year.
Yep.
And the snow melts.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Pretty much. He hates it when I do this. It's like I'm like so tangential. I'm like the Dory of hosts. Sometimes Tony can't keep up.
Like we had a
Just
good
keep
flow and then
swimming.
you
Just
say-
keep
Can
swimming.
I help you?
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
And you guys are.
Where
You can find us in our. You're not going to be looking for us.
You don't have to look
You
for
never know.
You can find them inside of Thrive at thrive.rs.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
If you're in Delaware or the Eastern Shore, Maryland, look up CDOWCYM. And that's me, Dan.
That's right. If you get stuck in Western Kentucky and you need to ride
Call
to Popeyes or
CDOWCYM,
something,
it's Dan. I'm just
that's right. No, Charlie again in Diocese of Owensboro. Happy to help any way I can, but
Home of barbecued mutton.
Yeah, we do.
But you know what?
Cook sheep.
Don't knock that, because there are many times in the group chats and says, hey, can I DM you and get some information?
Sure.
And things like that. That community of youth ministers helping each other and to say, hey, you know what? When someone asks, hey, have you ever done this kind of event? It's like, oh yeah, I've done that. Do you want all the information? It's like, oh yeah. Can you just send it
those
to
are
me?
big
It's like-
wins.
Absolutely.
It's like, well, thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Cool. Appreciate it.
See you tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise of different generations of new girls and boys. So sit back and relax. This is Catholic Podcast. Don't overreact if these thoughts are abstract. When it's hosted by Catholic.dad, who knows what's gonna happen? Hey, what's up, fam? Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected. What's up, fam? To connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way. Expect runaway thoughts like a runaway train. Break into conversation like links of a chain. Make a Hail Mary pass, hope this connects. Have a question for a guest, put it to rest. Live a life of holiness, lead by example. Follow at Catholic.dad and many tangled. Christ leads our way, he's the good shepherd. Pray for one another, be blessed and be there. Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind and drown out the noise and see if this connected.